Hi there, friends. I'll come in here with a quick note to let you know that the first global Product Owner Summit organized by the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is coming soon. To know more, check out the bit.ly/Product Owner 2023. That's bit.ly/Product Owner 2023. That's all one word, all lowercase. And stick around to the end of the episode to know more. But for now, on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Friday TGIF and Product Owner episode, this week with Caterina Palmiotto. Hey, Caterina, welcome back.
Hi, Vasco. Thank you again.
So, Caterina, Fridays are Product Owner days here on the podcast, and we'll talk about a great product owner in a minute. But first, let's dive into the difficult aspects that we need to face and, of course, also be prepared for. So the anti-pattern. So share with us what might have been potentially the worst anti-pattern you've seen for a product owner in your career.
Okay, so I think I've seen many, but one that I remember more and I think about it more is what I can call the phantom product owner. So let's say the user story writers that only write user story. And so in this case, I remember there was this product owner. He was kind of new in the role, and he was writing the user stories, but he didn't have the possibility to take any decision because, of course, he always needed to report to his boss in the business department, and he couldn't really decide anything. That, of course, was the situation in the company. There were these external constraints, but I think the worst thing is that he was really leaving this constraint with the team, because every time the team was asking him question or he expected answer to decide what to do, the product owner was always answering, well, I don't know, I need to ask my boss. That was his answer. And it was, of course, really bad for the work, for the team, and for him too. And so it really leaves the team, with this expectation of nothing at the end, because they could never really talk about what was possible to do with the product and what wasn't possible. There was always this delay in having the answers.
So when you think about this delay, I think that what you just said is actually very important. When you think about this delay, like what did you see was the impact on the team? Because they probably had many questions when they read a user story. That's normal, that's expected. That's why we talk about user stories in the first place. But what was that delay? What was it creating in the team?
Yeah, well, of course, it was creating a delay in the work, first thing. So, of course, they were... because this was happening before, during the refinement session, but also during the sprint. So, of course, the team was waiting for answer. So delay in the answer meant delay in the work. And it could mean also, of course, not completing the user story during the sprint, because maybe, it can happen. Of course, you should have everything ready before the sprint, but it usually happens in many teams that maybe they discover something, they need an answer to decide what to do next. And if they don't receive the answer, if they receive the answer only the last day of the sprint, of course, the sprint could fail, they cannot complete everything. And this was the most visible thing. And then, of course, they lost trust in the product owner, because, of course, they knew that they couldn't trust him in getting the answer, in making a decision. And so that means that they also lost commitment in doing things and in also proposing things and in also asking questions. So sometimes maybe, you can hear something like, okay, why should I ask this? You want to know the answer. Maybe I'll do what I think is right. And I mean, that can work, but of course it's not the best approach, because maybe you find a developer taking decision without having all the information. So that's not the best for the product, of course. But of course, this, you are pushing people doing this because in their mind, they didn't have any other option.
The other thing that comes to mind, and I don't know if this happened with this team, but I've seen it happening elsewhere. The other thing that comes to mind is also the inability to develop ideas further, right? Like somebody has an idea, they talk with the PO, but the PO doesn't help them develop the idea. It just says, no, stop, I need to talk to the boss. And when that happens, there's no possibility of innovating, because the
Yes.
innovation happens in dialogue, in the conversations we have when we're thinking about specific functionality or user stories, right?
Yes, exactly. The fact that the team couldn't discuss with the real decision maker stopped every conversation. Yes, every idea from developing, and of course every proposal. Yes, exactly. At the end, the team stopped making proposal, and you stop creating maybe better solution.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was the anti-pattern example, but today's Friday. We also want to end up on a high and talk about a great product owner, Caterina. So share with us,
Yes.
what was the best product owner that you work with? What were they like?
Okay, yes. Nice to finish the Friday. Okay, so in this case, this product owner, so I will share some things he was doing. So he was working with his team, developing software again. So every time there was a new module to develop, a new module in that software, the product owner, he was sharing with the team. He was taking some time sharing with the team what the module was about, sharing the high-level vision to give them the idea of what was coming, in the next future sprints and months, so that at least they had the vision of what they were going to build. He was sharing a very high-level timeline to make them understand which were the main functionality that he was expecting to be built. And after that, during the following product backlog refinement session, he was collecting all the doubts and comments coming from the team. At that time, maybe he didn't have the answer, but he could say, this is what I think, this is my vision, I'm collecting all your doubts, and I will think about this. And so moving on in the refinement session, of course, he was presenting the user story with a nice description. And with nice, I mean that there was enough information to start a discussion, not everything, but enough to understand what he was expecting. And so the team was able to discuss and to make proposals and to suggest ideas. He was really ready to listen to this suggestion. And again, maybe he wasn't answering immediately, but he was, taking all the suggestions. And another practice that we were experimenting at the time is that, for example, this was useful for the team and the product owner both. They were doing a product backlog refinement session split in two. Let's say that for each session there was the first part with the product owner. They were focusing only, of course, on the user perspective. So the team was forcing himself to make questions related to only the user perspective. And the second part without the product owner, where the team was starting to understand if from a technical point of view, the new functionality meant something dangerous. So I mean, maybe they needed to understand if they need to change the architecture, because maybe it was a big change. And after that, they were sending to the product owner, let's say, a summary with the main points, if they wanted to share with him something, so that, again, he could think about that before the next refinement session. I mean, of course, they were perfectly able to talk daily if they wanted to address something before. But in that way, there was kind of a continuous flow in the refinement session where they were really building information and decision, being aware from both sides why the decisions were being made. And I think that was really useful, at least for that team, it was working. And coming back to the product owner, I think he was ready also he was happy to join the retrospective because he wanted really to help change things, improve. And sometimes he was also happy to have retrospective, maybe specific on the like the latest 3 months development, if it was specific on one model. So to say, okay, we built this model, what do you think it went well and what do you think didn't work, even in in the process between product owner and team, so to improve that for the next module development.
And so there were different aspects of the product owner role that you described that I wanted to, I wrote it down, I'll put it in the show notes. but I wanted to point out one thing that you didn't mention specifically, but you gave many examples of, which is that there was a productive communication going on all the time between the product owner and the team. And for us as Scrum Masters, I think that all of the examples that you shared are great hints, are great things to look for in the relationship between PO and team. And if they don't happen, then it's on us, right? It's on us to figure out why aren't they happening. Like one example that you talked about is when there was a new model to develop, the PO would take some time, explain the overall vision and the functionality they thought would fit that, and the team had the opportunity to discuss that vision together with the PO. Like, this is just one example. You gave quite a few. And I was just thinking, man, these are all great examples of how the team and the PO need to collaborate. And that's our responsibility. Like, this is what we need to help build, right?
Exactly. Yes, I mean, the nicest part of this product owner is that, of course, I didn't start this way, but working with the team, they define this process between them at the end. And so at the end it was working, but it was, their decision altogether to change these things. So like you said, maybe the sharing of the vision, maybe that wasn't happening at the beginning. So that, came out as a need a long time. And so at the end, the product owner, I think the point is that the product owner was ready to learn everything was necessary, and he was ready to listen and to build a new process with the team. So everything that was necessary, he and the team, that they found a way to make it happen.
Absolutely. And of course, if they don't, that's our job also.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. Awesome. That was a great story, great examples of anti-patterns, but also great example of a great product owner, Caterina. Thank you for sharing that. Now, we're getting close to the end, but before we go, do share with us, where can we find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
I would say you can find me on LinkedIn. Yeah, my page with my name, yes.
Absolutely. We'll put the link on the show notes so that people may find Caterina, and why not ask some follow-up questions and share some examples that you might want to share. Great stuff, Caterina. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you, Vasco. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for everyone that is listening.
Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around. This year's first global summit dedicated to the product owner role in Scrum will have some amazing keynotes and 2 tracks filled with first-hand stories and experiences for product owners to learn more about that critical Scrum role. We'll have Roman Pichler, author and product expert, who will be answering your questions and sharing the most important aspects of the product owner role. We'll also have Colleen Johnson talking about why roadmaps are probably making your life much harder than it needs to be, and what to do instead. This talk was quite a success in Agile Online Summit 2022, and Colleen has learned some new tricks, tools, techniques that she will share with us when it comes to roadmaps for the product owner role. And we will also have Henrik Nyberg, author of Scrum and Kanban from the Trenches, as well as one of the creators of the Spotify model. So come in and listen to his stories. And we'll also have, of course, 2 tracks with many more sessions and even some live sessions. The 2 tracks will cover practices every product owner should know, where we'll be hosting conversations on topics that product owners need to be familiar with, like backlog refinement, planning, and much more. The second track will be on metrics, measuring product and personal success as a product owner. As product owners, it's crucial to have a clear understanding of what are the metrics that drive success for us, and of course also for the products and businesses that we work with. And we need to continuously measure and optimize those metrics. So in this track, we'll be sharing what's working and what's not in the area of measuring success for product owners. We will also have the opportunity to network with our peers. It's a network event, of course, so get your tickets and join our Slack. Go to bit.ly/product owner 2023. That's all one word, all lowercase. As always, we will have free tickets and VIP tickets, which will give you long-term access to the content of this summit. So check them out at bit.ly/product owner 2023. All lowercase, all one word. I'll see you on the summit floor. One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over, but there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. So join us at scrummasterpodcast.com and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more full week of Scrum Master tips and tricks.